So this is Luke Thomas's new channel. It's a bit older now, but it's called Luke Thomas Gets Political, and he's become a bit of a soy lib, if that's the right word. And in his political channel, I don't think he was getting many views, so he started infusing UFC into it. And you're gonna see here, he started to hate the fans. That's the best way to put it. He's starting to hate the fans. He's starting to hate that they, I guess, on the right, that they might like Trump a bit more. And I guess he's like on a crusade against that. And he says some really funny things here, and we're going to get into it.
Yesterday on a stream hosted by known and voracious book reader Aiden Ross, UFC President Dana White revealed that the president
Book reader Aiden Ross. Oh my god, you read books, good for you, go on.
of the United States, Donald Trump, will be in attendance at UFC 327 this weekend. Now, I have seen some folks speculate that Trump might get booed. I certainly think that that is possible. For example, we have a pretty significant amount of polling data showing that young men, which is obviously the sort of core part of the
So he's here wishing Trump gets booed. Like, he's on some sort of Twitter where they're going, oh yeah, okay, oh yeah, Trump's gonna get booed when he comes in. I mean, kind of like a stupid thing to care about, but you know, okay, it stinks to 33%.
audience that makes up the UFC and MMA fan base, that support for Trump has cratered among them. Fair enough. Nevertheless, I think the UFC knows that their audience is going to be Trump's Alamo. I would say that if he does get booed there, that would be a huge sign of really, really bad declining.
So he thinks the MMA fans are dumb. You know, he thinks supporting Trump's dumb. So he's saying, oh yeah, the UFC fans, they're animal. He's calling you guys dumb. Yeah, that's what he's doing. Saying Trump fans are dumb. UFC fans are Trump fans because they're dumb. You're like, okay, they don't read books, you know.
Support, but I wouldn't count on it. Possible, but unlikely. But none of that really matters. The point that
Did he even get booed? I don't even know if he got booed. Like, I don't know. I don't think many people are paying attention to that except for these type of guys.
trying to make here is a bigger one. Namely, why does Donald Trump keep going to UFC events? Why does UFC have Donald Trump there?
Because he's the president of the United States and UFC events are held in the United States. Him and Dana are friends. So he comes there and people go, oh, he's the president. It legitimizes the UFC. That's why he goes there, is obvious. But Luke's going to say something else, isn't he?
This is something I get asked all the time. Like, what are they trying to get out of it? And obviously, one of the most important answers is that there's a transactional relationship here. So, for example, on the UFC side, what would they get out of it? Well, you can look at Congress right now. You can go and look at the proposed bill going through Congress right now. It's now in a Senate subcommittee. The Muhammad Ali American Boxing Revival Act, this thing to gut the existing Ali Act.
Okay, with all due respect, yeah, Trump would want that to go through anyway. You know, Trump's like going, oh, if you let me go to UFC events, you know, I'll get this through this Ali Act. No, he's just, well, no. He's not. It's not going. Oh yeah, if we get Trump in to work in, oh my God, he's going to pass the Ali Act. Like I don't even. Danny doesn't even need favors like that. He could easily just get through. He just has to get money. Like, okay, this Ali Act is going to get you guys some more money, you know, and then he can just get it through. He doesn't really need Trump to go to UFC event. It's not some nefarious thing, I don't think. Anyway, let's go
on. This has been a priority of the White House to get this moved through the House and now into the Senate and then signed into federal law. This will allow basically the UFC or the parent company TKO to avoid all of the labor protections that protect boxers in federal legislation. It gives them an exemption to it and will likely result in the monopolization of the industry. That's one part of it, obviously. To avoid greater regulatory scrutiny. During the Obama years, they whiffed twice, but at least two different times, the FTC looked at the UFC for various forms of anti-competitive or, monopolistic practices. They didn't do anything in the end, but at a bare minimum, they kicked the tires on it. Something like this would never.
Yeah, that's possible. But as you said, Obama didn't do anything. You know, Americans like money. You know, if they see a company making a lot of money like a UFC, they like that. You know, they're not gonna do anything about it. Joe Biden was in for years. You know, UFC's been around for 20 years. I think it was there was a Republican who stopped it from going through for a lot of years. Dick Cheney or something. Again, his name. Yeah, John McCain. That's it. John McCain. He stopped it. He's a Republican. He stopped it from going through a lot of times. He called it cockfight, and he was going way against it. He stopped them from getting regulated in a lot of states. So there's a Republicans that have been against it historically, like not really Democrats. So I don't think they're doing it to go. Oh yeah, we're not going to get regulated if we let Trump have a lot of work through. I think maybe if I don't know, but maybe if like a Democrat like was president, they said, "Can I come to UFC events?" They let him come. I think if they went to another country, like maybe they let Keir Starmer come through. Like I don't think they have anything against that. I think his friends. I think even it's a bit weird for the president to do so. Presidents don't want to be looked there, do they? Presidents don't go there because they're like, oh, going to a UFC event, that makes me look like low class. So I think Trump's actually going out of his way to like lower himself to like that standard. And plus, you have the crowd there, and Luke was talking about it. They can boo you, and they can make you look bad as well. And UFC might not edit that out. So it's actually more of a risk for the president, and that's why no one goes there. Because it's like, oh, yes, Sama goes in there, the UK Prime Minister. Then he gets booed. He's going to be like, oh, that's going to look terrible. It's all his opponents will be going, oh, they hate him. You know. So I wouldn't say UFC's doing him a favor. I think he's doing the UFC a favor more so than anything because it's getting him a lot of views. Like, oh, the president shows up at UFC events. I don't think it's doing much of Trump a favor, and I think it's trying. Even if they say like the Ali Act wasn't going on, or like I don't know, he's saying like regulations. Say if they're like there's no chance for regulations to anything, which there isn't. In UFC, they're not going to regulate it. And Trump said, "Can I come through?" And him and Dana were friends. He goes, "Yeah, you can come through." Go in the crowd. Maybe not like a good workout, but you can come in the crowd. We put a camera on you. They put cameras on actors, and they put on songwriters, everything. They put cameras on anyone famous. I'm not really seeing her.
Ever happen, certainly under Trump's watch. So there's a fair amount of things they can get out of it. Those are just examples, but there's certainly more. But it's the other side of the equation, which is what Trump gets out of this. Now, I made a video, and I'm going to show you portions of it here some time ago. You'll recall UFC President Dana White had said one time on an interview, he was like, I'm not really political. People think I'm some political guy, which is just the most ludicrous thing anyone could possibly say. I do not believe Dana White is necessarily some kind of Matt Walsh figure or Christopher Rufo or something like that, but it doesn't matter. He marshaled the forces of the UFC and TKO more broadly to do his level best, and I think was hugely impactful in giving him access not merely to the youth who watch UFC, and young men in particular, a very, very hard to reach portion of the electorate. But there's more to the story there. I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. And that helped return him to power. It helped put Trump back in office in 2024. He returned a political.
Okay, is Dana political? Like, I don't know, but I've never seen him like a hardcore UFC fan. I've never really seen him get political, but Dana White helped him get back into power. He's losing me. I don't know. Dana White helped. I don't know. I don't know. I think it's like a conspiracy theory, if anything. Like this is like schizo. Dana White legitimized him. Dana White, they helped legitimize him. I don't know. Maybe I have to be there to understand. Like, because I think it's more like the economy being bad that legitimized him. I think the reaction to COVID as well legitimized him. I don't think he goes to UFC events, but okay.
Project to power. You own all of that. Whether or not you personally agree with X or Y, it doesn't matter. You did everything possible to return that project to power. Everything that comes with it, you own. But it's actually what Trump gets out of it that turned a political project to power. You own all of that. Whether or not you personally agree with X or Y, it doesn't matter. You did everything possible to return that project to power. Everything that comes with it, you own. But it's actually what Trump gets out of it.
Yeah, I think he went to a rally. Yeah, they let Trump work out to a UFC event. Yeah, but there's bigger things than just UFC. Like I don't know, maybe like Like, I don't know. I wouldn't vote someone going, they in a white shirt over their press conference. Oh, yeah, he worked in the UFC thing. Oh, yeah, I'm going to vote for him again. I don't think that plays into it at all. I don't think that plays into it at all. I think it's the economy, it's immigration, it's the fact that maybe you lose your industry. It's stuff like that. That's going to return a guy like Trump to power because Trump's like a protest vote. Because it was either that Joe Biden is vice president, or it's a guy. It's like a protest vote. It's like, okay, I didn't really like Joe Biden's run. I'm just gonna vote for Trump again. He's something different. And some people are just never gonna vote for that side. I don't think it's nothing to do. I don't think it's nothing to do with the fact that Dana White like said, oh yeah, he's just like, oh yeah, he let me fight. He put UFC events at his hotels. If anything, and I'd see it this way. Trump has done way more for the UFC than the UFC could ever do for them. Trump was letting Dana White fight at his hotels, do events at his hotels, and legitimizing him, working out to his UFC events. This is making the UFC look like a proper sport. Instead of them fighting in some backyard somewhere, in some hick town, fight at the Trump Plaza. He's doing way more for them. I think Dana's actually the little guy in this situation. But you're making out that like, oh, Dana's going out of his way, and he's making Trump look so good. He's giving all this. It's the other way around, Luke. It's the other way around. I don't think he's not seeing this right. But let's go.
That to me is much more interesting here. On the one hand, obviously, it's immediately recognizable. What is he looking here to do? He is looking to get an image boost. We're going to look at some evidence of this in just a minute, but this is why he is making the rounds now. As I indicated, his support with certain male audiences that might be more likely to be UFC fans than not, his support has cratered there, but his support is cratering basically everywhere. The economy is in tatters. We just suffered a strategic humiliation with a middle power in Iran, to say nothing of the fact that.
Okay, yeah, but you get going through hard times. Your support's going to drop. Yeah, Iran is the middle power. I wouldn't call them a middle power now. I mean, Iran's obviously, if they can shut down the oil industry, they're obviously a great power now. Even if their economy isn't that good or anything, they got like 1 million soldiers. If they can stamp to the US, a great power. You're not a middle power. It's like Russia. Russia. You can say Russia is now actually becoming like a little bit of a middle power, a little bit. Now Iran, so I wouldn't. But like strategic, it's not really humiliation either. Like everyone knew this was going to happen. Trump likely knew, okay, if they don't surrender straight away, this is going to be crap. And your approval rating goes down. It was like people call Tony Blair war criminal, people call George Bush a war criminal, but anyway, but I don't see this. What I think again though. What is people gonna value higher in their minds? There's a war in Iran, and they're kind of mugging us a little bit or whatever. There's a war in Iran, and they're kind of mugging us or whatever. Trump worked out into a UFC event. What are they gonna value higher? They're gonna value the fact we're at war right now. They're not gonna go, I worked out to a UFC event though, so it's okay. It's okay. We're losing money. We're getting banned, but we know he worked out to a UFC event. Let's go.
Healthcare is now more expensive than ever. Housing prices are not coming down in any kind of way. Pediatric and cancer research has been slashed. I mean, I could go on and on about ways in which he's just destroying American life in 2026. What he's looking for here is to be received warmly. He's looking for adoration. That adoration both makes him feel good as well as something that can be used and shown to the rest of the United States or other interested parties, the world even. Look at how well he's still being received. It's a way to both boost his ego as well as a way to propagandize the entire event for political gain. That is what he is going to be doing this Saturday in Miami. But there's an even bigger point.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Because so you work out, yeah. If you work out somewhere, people are gonna like you, yeah. And that gives you an ego boost. I think that gives everyone an ego boost. And yeah, it is going to be used for some kind of problem. Yeah, it is. So that's true. It is going to be used for like, oh look, it's being received well. Yeah, I get, yeah. But didn't you say, Luke, that you think he's going to get booed, so he's taking a big risk? You said all you guys on Twitter, all your friends and stuff, were saying if he comes out, he's going to get booed, so he's actually taking a risk there. You'd say that, wouldn't you? Because you just saying earlier, oh, you might get booed because the support's so low. So he's taking a risk in going out there. So it's not 100%, oh, they're going to love me, you know? He's going to go, oh, God, I'm going to go out here for the UFC. If they boo me, it's going to be plastered everywhere, but I'm going to do it. I wouldn't pair it like that. I wouldn't put it like that at all.
That I want to make here. Namely, what is the real nature of the UFC's relationship with Donald Trump? And in particular, not just now, which we've kind of discussed, but what did they really do for him? This is critical. You need to understand what the truth of the situation is.
Okay.
The UFC's role specifically in the political career of Donald Trump is rehabilitating him in the public's eye after January 6th. That is their role. Donald Trump helps foment a riot or an insurrection or whatever you wish to call that at the Capitol, where the life of his vice president at the time was nearly imperiled. Democracy was imperiled. And now we know this for a fact. He tried to use a fake elector scheme to steal a presidential election. He did not attend. It didn't work. He did not attend Biden's inauguration. He leaves office. 1 month later, he did a CPAC speech, but it was basically gone from the public until
Hey, January. I don't really know much about January 6th. What I saw at the time, I just saw. I guess people thought it was him trying to coop somewhere, where it looked like a bit of people just going mad. You know, I don't know if he tried to if he tried to do that or whatever. But so he's saying Dana White. The reason he hasn't worked out is like, oh, Dana White's trying to repair his image after an insurrection or whatever, a riot. He thinks that's what's going on here? That Dana White's like trying to go, oh yeah, he's losing his mind. You're losing your mind a little bit. You're losing your mind, Luke. What the hell?
July of 2021, when he is seen at UFC 264. This is the trilogy between Conor McGregor and Dustin Poirier. At the time,
No, because Luke should be a smart guy here. I don't know why. I don't know if he's propagandizing. He should be a smart guy. I don't know. I don't know why he's seeing it this way. I can see him take a little bit going. I can see him saying about, oh yeah, so Trump's kind of used it for propaganda purposes. Like how well received. I can see him going that route, but not the UFC is trying to. Trump is actually boosting the UFC's image, if anything. It's not as Trump's. Dana wants to go. Oh my God, Trump's coming. Like this is how powerful we are. We have presidents working in. That's what Dana's thinking. He's not thinking, oh God, he tried to incite a coup. He tried to. I need to repair his image here. He needs to come working out. Like Trump's like Dana White's thinking as like a promoter. He's not thinking it's like, oh, I need Trump in power so badly. I don't think he actually. I think he cares a little bit because he's like friends with him, but I don't think he cares that much. I think you go, okay, Democrat, whatever. I'll work with him. You know, I'll probably maybe bribes politicians. I don't know. He works. UFC comes from like a mafia fame. If you didn't know.
very, very big fight on a big part of the calendar for the UFC. And this coincided with yet another CPAC event during that same week. I'm going to show you evidence of this in just a moment to build this out. It's from a previous video that I had made that I think some folks have forgotten about. This is the critical core insight to all of this. They used their...
Am I tripping here? Or is this like the third time he said this is the critical part? Because I watched this before, I might be blurring things in my head. I swear he said, this is, okay, but this is the part right here that's critical. Now this part, that's okay, but this part is, I swear he's done it like 3 times. I might be tripping now.
Mainstream credibility, they used their ability to reach difficult parts of the electorate. They used basically and marshaled forces that no political candidate could ever even really buy. You can't buy what the UFC gave to Trump in the 2024 election. There's no way to really do that. You could buy airtime on a network. It's not
Well, why doesn't Joe Biden, like, whoever the next president is now, like, call him up, or Kamala Harris say, oh, can I work out a UFC event? Can I do that? Can I just have a little workout? And then if they say no, then go, look, they let Trump in, they don't let us in. They don't ask the UFC that, do they? They're saying, oh, he's giving them stuff like promo that he can't buy. But I don't think they're asking for it, are they? They're not asking for that promo, so they don't think it's actually worthwhile, do they? They don't think it's worthwhile, so I think you're valuing higher than like they got people like doing all the doing all the research behind the scenes of all like the demographics they can get to. They'd rather have Megan Thee Stallion twerk on stage. That's what Kamala Harris was doing. They instead of going to UFC, they go get Megan Thee Stallion on us to have a twerk on stage perform. That's what they thought would hit their voters. They don't think hitting the UFC voters. They don't think UFC guys even vote properly. They probably think they're dumb like you. So I wouldn't say that.
not the same thing. Walking him out, having him be received by a fan base that has been homogenized because you've gotten rid of the folks who would have never been on.
Did they ask to work out of him? I guarantee no president's ever asked to go to his event at all, let alone be worked out by him. No president has asked that, so you can't say they're giving him special treatment. You know what I mean? I can't say that.
Board with that by all the previous instances of it over time, right? And then on top of it, the fighters genuflecting before him, the commentators dapping him up, talking about how great it is that he's here. These are things you cannot.
Because it's the president. It's the they want to say, they want to dap him up and go, oh my god, the president's here. Nobody of that stature ever comes here. We get actors and stuff. We get actors and former fighters like a goddamn president's here. Like he's gracing us with his presence. Not because no other president would do that. That's why they're dapping him up. It's being real. Like if you're like a UFC commentator, like a meathead who's been fighting all his life, that's he's on a commentator now. It's like some meathead who like punch each other in the face. They're sitting there at the desk and they go, "Oh my god, yeah, there we go, president. Oh, my fighting career's all done. I'm a commentator now, and I get to meet the president and say, what's up, man?" You know, it's not. I don't. You're putting actors on it.
Not buy. There's no way to get this. You have to be just gifted it. And they gifted it to him at critical junctures in his very
Gifted it. No one else is asking for it. No one else is asking for this gift. It'd be such a good. It'd be such a. Like it's not that. I don't think it's that much of a bigger deal. That's why they're not asking for it. They're not going, "Oh, Trump just got a UFC. Oh no, we can't match that." You know.
very first post presidency tumultuous political career where he is facing lawsuits, he is facing jail time, he is facing serious criminal allegations. The UFC was instrumental in trying to pave over that. They were using their forces, their entertainment, their social forces, their ability to reach these, again, difficult portions of the electorate that they have on lock, young men, among other audiences as well. And they were using that to sane wash him. They were using that to whitewash the whole thing. They were using that to make you forget about the guy who tried to destroy American democracy on January.
Destroy American democracy. I don't know. Maybe he did. But I don't think they're trying to same wash him or anything. I think he's out the loop here. Because I don't really know about January 6th. I just saw people just rioting or whatever. I can't tell you much more about it. But I don't think they're same washing him. I don't think they're going, this guy's I don't think they're going, this guy's crazy. We need to do something about again. Get him up again. I think what makes someone look crazy and kind of like pandering to the audience is having Megan Thee Stallion twerk on stage. I think that they're saying, oh, this will get the black woman vote. This will get the youth vote, this will. I think that makes you look nuts. Because you're supposed to be a president and you got a girl twerking on stage. Talking about her WAP and stuff. I don't think I think like workout to a fight is actually much more normal compared to that now.
January 6th. That's what they did. That's what they
did. And he also
did.
said earlier, he said, about January 6th, he said, whether you want to call it a coup, whether you want to call it inciting a riot, and now he's saying that he's trying to destroy democracy that night. Like before, he's leaving it like up to interpretation because he doesn't actually know, does he? But now he's saying straight up, he was trying to destroy democracy that night. He did even look. If he wanted to, why didn't he just declare himself king? You know, say why was he so pussyfooting about it? You know, that's the kind of thing I wonder. I don't think Trump pussyfooted about anything. I think he was like, I think maybe he's going, oh, maybe the vote's stolen, but I don't want to get into a mess. You know, I don't think like if you want to destroy democracy, you don't have to. How did Vladimir Putin destroy democracy? How did this Saddam Hussein destroy democracy? He went on TV. He just told them. He just said he went on TV and then he just got a bunch of people shot. He read out a paper saying, okay, then you guys all go to the front, go outside. Then he then asked them to get shot on live TV. That's how you destroy democracy. You don't pussyfoot around it going, oh no, do they believe me or not? Okay, let's run away. That's not usually how it works.
But take a look at the timeline. Take a look at how often, and this is, by the way, not even the sum total of everything. This is just a little bit of it. Take a look at how often the UFC was used to launder all of the damaging things that were happening to Donald Trump by virtue of his own actions, of course. But look at what they did to whitewash it. The first time he ever made a real public return in a grand kind of way, where was it? By July of 2021, now 6 or so months after the January 6th riot, insurrection, whatever you like to call it, here is Donald Trump right back at things at UFC 264. But it actually goes much, much further than just this. Let's follow the timeline. So let's start now in 2023. In March of 2023, he's indicted under 34 counts in New York. Just 9 days later, he's at UFC 287 in Miami. In June of 2023, there is a classified documents indictment that is unsealed. Just less than a month later, he's at UFC 290. And in August of 2023, both the January 6th obstruction indictment comes through, as well as the Georgia RICO indictment. 3 months later, at UFC 295, there's Donald Trump. And in May of 2024, after the conviction in his New York trial, just 2 days later at UFC 302, there he is, front and center. There's no way to really know in the end, but
Yeah, Trump's getting in a lot of trouble. We know that. Okay.
I bet
But he
there's
also goes to UFC events a lot, so I guess you can kind of match it up there. He gets in trouble, he goes to UFC events all the time. You can match it up, you can make a pattern.
very good argument to make that Donald Trump maybe doesn't even win the presidential election, but for the laundering service that the UFC provided for him. This is why every time the chuds get.
Let's go back. Did you say there's no. If the UFC didn't do that, he wouldn't have won the election?
Maybe doesn't even win the presidential
You
election.
lost your mind, man.
But for the
He's lost his
there's
mind.
no way to really know in the end, but I bet there's a very good argument to make
No, there's not.
that Donald Trump maybe doesn't even win the presidential election.
Is UFC so big to this man that he thinks that decides an election? It's like UFC, like, is that like your whole world where you can't see anything past it? Where you go, you don't even think he wins the election if he doesn't work out to a UFC event. Not the economy or anything. Not the fact you say you try to destroy democracy, that doesn't play into it. You put destroy democracy below working to a UFC event. Just think about that.
But for the laundering service that the UFC provided for him. This is why every time the chuds get mad when I talk about the UFC and Donald Trump's
Chads. Here we go.
relationship and how the UFC,
This is all he thinks about, you guys. Let's go.
as a consequence of leaning into their Trump advocacy, has now turned MMA into a vector for right-wing politics. Now, it's possible because Trump is souring everything, some of those forces might be tamped down. We shall see. But certainly in 2024, that's exactly what he turned it into. 2025, in large part, that is exactly what he turned it into. You can now see how important this relationship is. You can see why the UFC is now being granted a fight on the White House South lawn. You can see why.
Yeah, and it's very cool though, isn't it? Like, why didn't Joe Biden do that? Why didn't Joe Biden do that? If it's such easy promo having a UFC fight because they don't care about that type of stuff. But I think it's just cool though, isn't it? Like if his relationship ends up with cool stuff like a fight in the White House, the fight card on there, like then it's good for us because we get to have something instead of like um Apex events in that small little room, which is okay. Instead of that, we get to have fights to the White House, we get to have fights to the Sphere, and is Dana White's relationship with the United Arab Emirates, I think it is, where the Arab countries down there, I think it was the UAE, that we had to fight Ireland, that we got through COVID. It's his relationships, is where we got stuff like that. But to you want him to go, oh yeah, you want him to stay out of our politics, don't communicate with a president or anyone. We would have had like no fights in COVID. But it's because of Dana White's relationships with these leaders. We got Fight Island, we got the fights. Oh, we have those cool fights over there. We would have lost, we would have missed out on a bunch of like Justin Gaethje versus Tony Ferguson. We would have missed out on that. We would have missed out on all those 2020 fights, those 2021 fights. Because in Luke's opinion, he's probably said that as well. You're same watching the UAE, you're same watching the Saudis or something. You're same watching them. This is good. This is when you have like a corporation that's so big like UFC. You have to have you should have good relationships with the leaders. It's not we got the White House card. Who knows what's next after this?
They're being invited into these places that, again, no organization could ever find their way in but for the invitation from the highest halls of power. You can see why. Because it is very, very likely, at least a very good thing to consider, Donald Trump doesn't get nearly as close to the presidency but for the involvement of the Ultimate Fighting Championship. And the Ultimate Fighting Championship doesn't get anywhere near the kind of as close to the presidency. Why?
He doesn't even get close without the UFC guys. He doesn't even get close to the presidency without the UFC. If he wasn't able to work out at events, he doesn't even get close.
Because it is very, very likely, at least a very good thing to consider, Donald Trump doesn't get nearly as close to the presidency but for the involvement of the Ultimate Fighting Championship. And the Ultimate Fighting Championship doesn't get anywhere near the kind of preferential treatment that you see them getting on the legislative side as well as the presentation side, but for their advocacy for Donald Trump. If I'm telling the truth, he
doesn't get the preferential treatment yet, but it's good for both sides, really, isn't it? Even though obviously he gets more clout, the UFC gets more clout from it. It's good for both sides as well. It's something for like Americans to watch that's different, And it boosts up the White House saying, oh yeah, look, they do cool things like this. I think Trump's actually very smart for like having this relationship and doing stuff like this. I think he's very smart for it. I think every president should follow his style, like promoting themselves, shouldn't they? It shouldn't be something evil and disgusting like you put out. It shouldn't be something so evil and disgusting that you'd like to make out it is.
Used to be the case that when the UFC kept trotting him out,
That's what I mean. That's why he's a soy lib. Things that should be cool, he sees them as disgusting and ulterior motives. This is why you shouldn't be a soy lib like him.
After time after time, it would really bother me. It does not bother me anymore. I told this to Dan Le Batard this week. The change in the UFC, the change in the sport, I'm not saying they couldn't go further down the rabbit hole, but it's basically complete. Like whatever pivot they had made, it's made. They have alienated and again excised huge portions of the fan base that used to be there. They're all gone. They've brought in a new portion of the fan base, a lot of chuds who, just a bunch of sexless losers who desperately need to touch grass and otherwise are part.
And he resorts to name calling. He resorts to making fun of like you're like because someone disagrees with you doesn't mean they're all that. And he's saying that stuff about people. I want him to look in the mirror a little bit. Does he look like a ladies' man? He has grey hair. He had grey hair in his 20s. You know what I mean? And he's fat. You know, who are you saying that to? And he's acting like tough. Like he did jujitsu. He quit jujitsu because he broke his toe. Like you had grey hair in your 20s, you're fat, and you quit jujitsu within a week because you broke your toe, mate. I mean, you're not like you think like an alpha, like you're like an alpha, like tough guy or something. You're not. You can all look at you. And he's also calling people there because why? They respond to his YouTube videos. Like you make 20-minute YouTube videos and someone responds negatively, you start going, "Oh, you should touch grass." Like that wins an argument, does it? That wins an argument for you. Like you can't engage. You have to just go, "Oh, this guy, his life sucks," so that's why he's responding to me. No, maybe you actually have to take some criticism. You know what I mean? Take a little bit of criticism. It's already hard. People sometimes like if you actually listen to people sometimes, is it the crazy thing to do is to listen to someone and go, oh, maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong. I'll think about it, but instead they go, oh, touch grass, bro. You can't, you lost our critical thinking. You just have to win an argument based on insults and call them chuds and stuff like that. Just you have a channel called Let's Get Political, and you can't even have a little debate. Yeah, you can't. He hasn't said any of the opposing side's arguments, has he? And again, maybe it's like I don't have Twitter. I only use MMA on Reddit. I want to go off Reddit and onto Twitter to be honest, because Reddit you end up on an MY drill sub. I'm like, what am I doing here? Just scrolling. But Twitter, I can't seem to get into that algorithm either. Like I end up on Ukraine war videos. So maybe like on Twitter, the people he talks to and the people who talk about Donald Trump, they're just nutcases. I don't know. But I'm MMA on Reddit. Like it's different. Probably the best place to go for MMA to be honest. Instead of this crap. Because the guys who go on Twitter, they end up being a bit more toxic. Like Luke Thomas seems he's toxic. All the guys who use MMA Twitter seem a bit more toxic. So maybe I need to look at that side of the internet because maybe that's what he's talking about. Maybe some people who just straight up chuds. Straight up chuds. You look like a chud. He looks like he's how I picture a chud. Like a middle-aged man who quits jujitsu within a week because he breaks his toe. You don't look like an alpha to me. Anyway, let's listen to ladies' man over here, Luke Thomas. Let's listen to him.
Partially literate. And it's changed the nature
Partially
of
literate as
everything.
well.
It's changed how they desperately need to touch grass and otherwise are partially literate. And it's changed the nature of everything. It's changed
This
how.
is why he's so radicalized, because that's how he thinks of other people who don't think the exact same as him. That's why he's so radicalized now. That's why he sees things this way, because he's just like he just can't even see people as like human like him. It's a bit crazy.
How the sport functions. It's changed who the sport functions for. Again, it has become a vector for right-wing politics because now all of these actors down the line, including various gyms in Florida holding rallies for Ron DeSantis, or as I mentioned, even in my local area, a local promotion doing their best to not get or prevent Abigail Spanberger from getting elected. That failed. And I'm sure there's just a countless other examples that you could list from all over the country. It gave license to all of these.
So he feels like he's been kicked out of the fan base. I gather. Feels like he's been kicked out, and like all these chuds have been brought in, like Republican chuds, like MAGA chuds have been brought in. He feels like he's been kicked out, which is why he started this YouTube channel. You say this as well. You had a podcast on Showtime, and then B left you, didn't he? Your podcast host, he left you, and he's went on to do bigger and better things. You lost your podcast on Bellator and Showtime. I think, and I think you're going a bit nuts right now. You're dealing with the fact you're going lower in life. So you calling these people names that you don't agree with. I think you need to look at your own life a little bit. That's all I'm going to say.
Advocacy, and as a consequence, this is what it has become. It has become this. But a funny thing is happening now along the way. Folks have asked me, as I indicated at the beginning of this video, do you think Trump might get booed? Not yet. He could. It's possible, but probably not yet.
You're saying as well, Trump might not yet get booed. So you think there's a chance he's going to get booed? But you're saying the UFC's giving him a leg up doing this. It's actually a big risk doing this. And you admit that yourself.
One more time, the MMA audience, they'll claim that they're not right wing, or actually, they don't know what they want to claim. Some will claim that they're not right wing, some will easily claim that they are. But the reality is, even the
So you're saying that people that claim they're left wing are now fake right wingers in the MMA crowd as well. You're saying that they're faking their political thing because they're not as radical as you. They're not as radical in their beliefs as you. That you're saying they're fake right wingers. They're fake left wingers or centrists. Okay.
ones who are right wing, many of them will claim that they're not anyway. Oh, I'm a centrist, I'm heterodox. Then all they do is support right wing candidates.
That's
But
how you tell someone's gone down the radical path when they don't believe that they don't believe in centrists. They don't believe someone can go, okay, if they're on an election, they go, okay, maybe I vote for the Greens, even though I'm not like that far left. I think they got like the best thing. Maybe I vote for Labour. Maybe I vote for the Conservatives, even though they're bad last time. If they got like the best plan, or I vote for Reform or something like that. That's who you don't believe that. Why does so many political research and everything? Why do all their teams try and get a centrist voters? You try and get the guys who ain't swinging either way because there's always going to be people who vote left and right. They're trying to sway those people who are in the middle who like scratching their chin. So you say they don't exist, but they do exist. That's why they have whole teams who try and get a centrist. They know they have the guys who will always vote for them. They want their guys in the middle, and there's millions of people who can sway those votes. So yeah, that's how you can tell you're going down the radical path.
it's important to remember a really, really critical lesson here. The UFC wants you to associate their product.
Wait, especially when you talk about MMA guys. You're saying that MMA guys are centrist. A lot of MMA guys are not that interested in politics. You know, they're not they wouldn't call themselves right wing, or they could say, I don't know, I'm a centrist, I guess, because they're here to watch fights. You know, they're not here to talk about like politics.
With Donald Trump. Donald Trump wants you to associate his presidency with the UFC. My colleague Kareem Zidane has called the UFC the sports arm of the MAGA movement. That's another.
Well, the UFC became the sports arm of Donald Trump's MAGA regime. That's how you know it's getting bad when they start calling a government a regime. Is then it becomes regime change, isn't it? The sports arm of the MAGA regime. Okay. Yeah, if they want to call it that, I guess.
Another great way to look at it. But as things continue to stagnate, in certain cases decay or deteriorate, as the economy continues to crater, as the tariffs drive costs up, as we suffer yet more strategic humiliation in the Middle East, and now our Asian partners have realized they can no longer trust us as.
Look, we go for the same here in Britain. We've put up tariffs with Brexit. We've had tariffs. We've had our allies not respecting us. They're not trusting us anymore. We went. It's okay. It's okay to go through it. Like just a little bit of humiliation. You need a little bit of that. I'm saying you get used to it after like a couple of years when your allies start turning around asking for stuff like they wouldn't have before when they respected you. You have to get used to that. But you know why Trump's doing it? Trump's doing it because he needs to get the manufacturing back up because China isn't going to make weapons of war for you. Are they? That's like simple. I'm not like a Trump supporter. I'm not American, but he's trying to get manufacturing up because China won't make those weapons for you. You have to make them yourself if you go to war with China. China builds. Look at their shipyard building capacity. They could build 100 times more ships than the US. That's why he's putting tariffs on packages again carried by Chinese ships. He wants US shipbuilders to come in. That's why he's doing it. And I'm an MMA fan, and I can see that. And you're like a political guy now, and you don't even you're not even talking about it. You just say, you just look at tariffs. Okay, my prices went up. Tariffs prices went up. That's bad. When you're going to be at war with China, you're going to be like, oh my God, why didn't we have these governments build our manufacturing back up? And you're a political guy, and he doesn't mention any of that, does he? He doesn't mention, oh yeah, but he is doing it because, because we want to make more war weapons, just in case we fight China, they want to take Taiwan, we could defend Taiwan. He doesn't say any of that. He just says, look, he did tariffs for no reason, and like your food prices went up for no reason, you should hate him. Because a lot of MMA guys are coming here looking for Luke Thomas, even though it sounds crazy. They come there for his political takes. You know, they come in because they want to learn a bit more about what's going on. He doesn't tell them any of that. This whole video is just been misconstruing things. And maybe for like the average viewer who doesn't know that much, they might look at him and go, "Oh, he's just speaking facts." But if you know a bit more, even if you're like a leftist or whatever, you might you'd be able to say, "Oh my God, he's like he's tweaking things here for his audience, have his viewpoint."
as well. As home prices continue to soar, as the cost of goods become just basically plainly unaffordable, and any number of other things that
Correct me if I'm wrong. Americans still have the most disposable income in the Western world. Maybe some like niche cases like Norway have a bit more. Their taxes are so low still. You know, so your food prices are going up and everything's like relative, but you still have the most money. You still have the cheapest fuel. Even in this crisis, you still have the cheapest fuel. So you gotta count your things a lot here. So you're having a little bit less disposable income.
Trump swore wouldn't happen and are now not only happening, but happening in more rapid and more, frankly, deleterious fashion. Remember this relationship. Remember it. The UFC wants you to associate their brand with Donald Trump. Donald Trump wants you to associate his presidency with the UFC. They're not hiding it. They're not being ambiguous about it. They are transactionally using each other. And at UFC 327, you're going to see the same old thing that they keep on doing, trotting him out with Kid Rock.
Yeah, I gotta ask the average viewer here: do you associate the UFC with Donald Trump? I don't. Even though he's worked us, I just think, oh, it's cool. President's working done. I don't associate them at all. Maybe other people do. I don't know. I have seen actually. I've seen on somewhere where they were saying about some non-MMA fans are saying about UFC fans going, "Oh, that's like they're all MAGA guys, aren't they?" So I feel for like for non-UFC fans, they probably see that. I don't know though. I don't know. Maybe it is like a bad thing for us in the end because they all think we're like all Trump fans, just because he works out there so much. But I don't really see the benefit for the UFC for that. I don't really see it. I don't really see the transaction. I think they just want a promo from the president. That's my view.
Music, hoping that the crowd showers him with praise and that the fighters, after they win, let everybody know how much they love him, to turn this into a de facto campaign rally without calling it as much, to be able to give Trump the kinds of things that are simply not even available for purchase really anywhere in the political space. And as he continues to burn the country, and
Look, presidents do this like 10 times a day. You could just do a parade, a military parade. You get the same amount of attention almost, and you get the same amount of clout and stuff like that. It is available for purchase. Putin does it once a year in his little Victory Day speech or whatever. The king does it in his Victory Day speech. This is purchasable, you know.
as he continues to destabilize the world, and as his polling numbers continue to fall, and as the world continues to withdraw from us, when our security alliances fall apart, when the petrodollar continues to get replaced, when the cost of all of our goods and services continue to skyrocket, I want you to do me a favor. Listen to the UFC. Listen to Donald Trump. When they ask you to say, we want you to associate our brand with Donald Trump, give it to them. When Donald Trump asks you to associate his presidency with the UFC, give it to him. Give them exactly what they have been asking for. Give them exactly what they have been presenting to the world. Give them the very things that they pine for and have been parading all this time. The best thing that you can do for, give them exactly what they have been presenting to the world. Give them the very things that they pine for and have been parading
Okay,
all
okay.
this time.
Okay.
The best thing that you can do for the rest of your life, truly, as it pertains to these matters, never
Okay, so
forget
too.
that the Ultimate Fighting Championship is attached at the hip to Donald Trump. Never lose sight of the fact that Donald Trump should forever be associated with the Ultimate Fighting Championship. It is very, very, very arguable he wouldn't even be president again but for the championship. It is very, very, very arguable he wouldn't even be president again but for them. Dana White, Donald Trump, TKO, UFC, all of these actors want you to realize they are connected. All of them want you to realize they are all part of the shared political
Okay,
project. All of them want
he's
you
just
to
blabbing. What is
understand
he talking about? He's just blabbing. I can't even watch
we're
anymore.
all part of the same shared world. For years, the UFC has been begging you to associate their product with him.
Yeah, he's just blabbing. Blabbing. He's lost his mind, in my opinion. Yeah, that's Luke Thomas for you. That's what he's been getting up to. Is this blabbing?